Hi everybody, T has asked me to give you guys a little bit of my paranormal experiences. I've had many. My first one is what I'll talk about today. I grew up the first half of my life in Michigan in a very tiny little town. As a matter of fact, the house that we lived in was my great-grandparents' house. They built it by themselves. It was a 2-story brick house. Of course, it had siding on it, all the white siding, and we had about 10 acres. And I fluctuated in my rooms between upstairs and downstairs depending on the season. Obviously, downstairs was when it was really cold and upstairs when it was really hot. So we'd also done some other modifications on the stairwell. My stepfather had cleared out the banisters and made it see-through so that way the warm air could go up to the upper floor. One day, they were actually at ceramics class or something, and I was home. I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. It's when you could leave kids home alone because you could trust them. And I heard something rattling upstairs, and I didn't really think anything about it because I'd always seen things kind of move and things weren't where I put them, and heard things. It didn't scare me. It just fascinated me. Just let me know that somebody else was there. Well, anyways, I looked up the stairs and I heard creaking on the stairs because they creak. It was an old house. And every one of those stairs creaked. And I looked up there and there was nobody there. That started to freak me out a little bit because the steps were coming closer to me. On the floor, on the second floor, or first floor, pardon me, we had all wood floors. So you could hear every little pip, 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 pip. And I was standing 6 feet away from landing of the stairs in the living room, and I had turned my back because I heard something in the kitchen, which would have been to my left. So I turned my back to the stairwell, which was towards my right. And when I did, I felt a hand come over my shoulder very much like this. And I heard a voice, and it was a female's voice, and it was very calming, but it scared the bejesus out of me to the point where I ran all the way from my house to my grandmother's house, which was 2 acres away. So I don't know, maybe a quarter of a mile away. I ran over there, pitch black night, and said I just didn't want to be alone. Anyways, when I got home, I went into my bedroom, and my favorite stuffed bear, which I had been missing probably for a year at least, was there laying on my bed. And I realized that that was my grandma and grandpa, and I didn't need to be afraid. That one experience has led me and my husband, who has his own experiences, into being amateur paranormal investigators. We thrive on it. We love it, and it's part of who we are. So I hope you liked my story. I do have many more. Some are a little dark, though, so that's why I didn't want to put them on here right now. Thank you, T, for allowing me to tell this story, to tell my story, and I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe holiday.
I'm Joe Weegan. I'm the owner of Tri-State Holistic Wellness, and I'm also the founder of EPIC, the Evansville Paranormal Investigations and Consulting Group. Part of the duties of our group is to investigate paranormal occurrences in homes and businesses, and to be able to alleviate and eliminate those occurrences when they're happening. There are a lot of people out there who will record voices and then report those voices to the property owners, but then oftentimes they don't do any corrective measures to try to take those kinds of occurrences away from the property. Most of the people that I work with, the people that I allow into my organization, are all psychic or metaphysical natured and are able to communicate with spirit in some kind of way to allow us the opportunity to help to move some of those spirits on so they're no longer bothering the living. And we do this ethically and professionally so that way no one is harmed and everyone gets to live in peace both on this side and the other side of the veil. So a few years ago, a friend of mine texted me and said that she was having some problems in her store on the east side. This was a store that had a downstairs and an upstairs, but at the back of the upstairs was a mother-in-law suite. And her claim was that people were coming in, doing a little bit of shopping, they would go upstairs and they would come running down the stairs, making exclamations that they were never coming back and that whatever up there was terrifying and that they don't know what was going on upstairs, but they really felt horrible and they needed to get out. Some of the employees had reported seeing some dark shadows moving through the building and were getting feelings of dread and feelings of get out and that kind of thing. So I took a friend of mine and we went to go clear the house out. Now, I brought my wife along on this one because she also does this kind of work. And she oftentimes likes to do what she calls a drive-by, where we will go and sit and take a look at the place before we actually go in so that way she can get a feel for what's happening in the building. So I was scheduled to come by on a Saturday night at 7:30 when the store had closed. And we decided on Thursday night, when I got the contract for the job, to go out there to let my wife take a look at it. So we pulled into the parking lot right up to the glass front of this shop. And I'm looking into the building, and in the darkness of the inside of the store, I could see another darker area moving back and forth at the back of the store. And I could tell what it was already. And so I announced myself and I said, "You need to leave. I'm coming back on Saturday. You've got 48 hours to get out now while you can." Well, this thing laughed back at me, kind of like a ha ha ha, that's not going to happen. So I announced back to it, "You've been given your fair warning. I've tried to negotiate. I've tried to do this peaceably. When I come back Saturday night, it's on, and you're going to go. You have to leave." So we put the car in gear and drove away. Saturday night comes. Well, actually, Friday morning, the business owner texted me and said, did you come by last night? Well, apparently on her video cameras, she saw my car pull up to the front of the store. And 4 minutes later, a power surge hit the building so badly she almost lost all of her registers. Her cameras stopped recording, and the power surge was so strong it almost blew the registers and all of her other electronic equipment out. Her husband had to come and repair everything that morning. And so she had asked if it was my car that she saw on the video, and it was. We went in Saturday night and we evicted that thing. In no short order, we evicted it. During the time that we were there, however, and were in the mother-in-law suite section of the building, we were standing in the kitchenette area. And as we were standing there talking back and forth about some of the things that had been happening in this part of the building in particular, we heard a tick, 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 and the stove came on right next to us. And neither one of us were leaning up against it or touching it in any way. It was me and my partner and my wife, and we were all standing there in the kitchen when the stove came on. So that was a very interesting time, and that's what we do here. Anyway, this has been Joe Weegan. I thank you for listening to my stories. Some of these are really outrageous, but they're true.